Hey guys, it's Jess, and I'm super excited to be sharing a project with you today featuring a stamp set from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. Now, this is part of a giveaway video hop. So, if you're interested in winning a $20 gift certificate to the Sweet and Sassy Stamps online shop, go ahead and check out the description down below for information on how you can enter and hopefully win. I'm really excited to be a part of this hop, so let's get into it. I am starting off with this adorable stamp set called Forever Friends. It's a taller stamp set. I think it's around 4 by 8, and it's got these adorable woodland critters. I am so in love with the little images here. I decided I wanted to make a scene card because I needed some more just winter ones, not necessarily specific holidays or anything like that. So I went ahead and stamped out the little fox image using my mini Misty. And now I'm going to go ahead and trace in or kind of add in some sketched area just to kind of get an idea of what I want my scene to look like. I ended up actually ink blending over top of this, so it didn't really matter too much that I had stamped out the or that I had colored with the alcohol marker there. But if you like to do this, I just used a cool gray. So it's like it's a Spectrum Noir Classique alcohol marker, so it's ice gray. And I think it was just IG1, so the very lightest of those colors. All right, so now I have a Post-it note. Now this thing is full sticky back. I've got them linked below in case you want to check it out if you haven't heard of these, but normally a Post-it note has the sticky little bit at the top and the rest of it is loose or doesn't have the adhesive on it. This is the opposite. So it has a little area that doesn't have adhesive on it and the rest of it is sticky. I find this really useful for masking just because it is already ready to go. I really lean on these hard in my craft stash, even though they're not necessarily a crafty item. So I'm using my sharp pair of scissors there to go ahead and cut out the Post-it note so that I can mask it with, or lay it on top of my fox image as a mask. And then I'm going to do some ink blending with my Distress inks. Now, normally I use Distress Oxides, and I did use Distress Oxides on the snow down below, but I already had these colors out for another project, and I thought, you know, what better to do a non-holiday themed card than a non-traditional color palette for a winter sort of scene. So I'm using pinks here for my whole entire sky. I didn't use any other colors for the sky except pinks. The first one I used is Spun Sugar. Then I moved into Worn Lipstick, and then I finished it off with some Picked Raspberry. I really like these three colors together. I think they work really nicely, and you can get a really pretty gradient effect by doing it like this. So I'm just using a foam blending tool, the mini ink blending tool with the little foam pads, and then later on in the video, I do also use one of the scrapbook.com domed blending tools, and I had really good results with this as well. So I like both of them, just depends on kind of what I need and what I'm reaching for at the time. So you can see here, I started with my lightest color. I did the entire background with the lightest color. I didn't stop where I knew I wanted it to meet the next color. I just did the whole background there with the lightest color. Then I came in from the top with my next color, so that medium pink, and I went down a ways with that as well. Being careful not to go all the way down into the lightest color. I wanted it to fade out. Then I went over the top with the darkest color, and you can see that it gives you this really nice faded effect as you move from the darkest to the lightest color. I really like how that works, and I like how where the sky meets the horizon, or where the horizon is, Lord, you guys, where the sky meets the land, it has this nice faded out white sort of effect. I think it looks really nice. All right, so now I'm switching over to my Distress Oxides. I grabbed Tumbled Glass for my first color, and then my second color is Broken China. I temporarily lost my little blending foam there, so I switched over to one of my scrapbook.com blenders, and I'm just kind of willy-nilly putting some color on there. Nothing crazy or fancy. I'm just sort of adding it so that it has a little bit of interest, so that it's not all just one solid color. I did try to focus some of that darker color around where the shadow of the fox would be on the ice or the snow. And then now I'm going back in with some faded jeans just as a little bit of a darker shadowed sort of color. Now, once I had all of my ink blending done, I went ahead and grabbed my Distress sprayer. This is kind of my favorite tool when I want to get different effects with my Distress inks or Distress Oxides. I spritzed a little of that into my hand and then flicked it onto the background. And then now I am moving into using some of my, this is white opaque gesso. You just put a little bit on an acrylic block or whatever you want, spritz it with a little bit of water, and then you can use a paintbrush to kind of swirl it around. Tap the top of that paintbrush and you get a really cool organic sort of splattered effect, which is perfect here for snow, but you could use it as stars on a night sky as well. That's one of my favorite things to do on card backgrounds. So I really love that. Once I got that all done and was ready to move on, I did go ahead and remove my mask. I think that's probably my favorite part of card making, is removing masks when you're doing a scene card. There's just something magical about it. And now I'm going to go ahead and color up my fox. So I'm starting out with a GY3, and then I'm also going to use BO1 and BO2. So the GY is like a golden yellow color, and then the BOs are burnt orange. And then I'm, like I said, just using the BO1 and BO2 here for my color combination. Now I do go over this a little bit just to get my colors all nice and even and blended, but I always start with my lightest color first, move in with the medium color, and then come in with the darkest shading in my darkest color. And I try to keep that color to a minimum because you don't want to add too much of the shadowy areas. Once I got this all colored up, as far as the orange areas go, I decided to just add a little bit of gray into the areas that should be white. So I believe I just used IG1 or IG2 to do that. And I just added just a touch. So like under the chin and to one side of the ears, things like that, just to give it a little bit more dimension so it didn't look like I just forgot to color those white areas. And then once my coloring was all done, I did go ahead and move on to adding a sentiment to my card. I decided to go with this really cute stripped sentiment from Lawn Fawn that just says thinking of you. I thought this was perfect for the just generic sort of winter card. And then I'm adding on the inside, which I seem to have lost the footage of, but I added on the inside the I'm so blessed to have a forever friend. I'm sorry, a friend like you. So that's from the Sweet and Sassy stamp set. So I use that as my interior sentiment. And I like the way that those correlate and kind of work together to create such a cute little card. So I did some heat embossing where I used some embossing ink, poured on some white embossing powder onto a piece of black cardstock, and then melted the embossing powder with my heat tool. And then I went ahead and folded the little extra bits around the back of the card and then just trimmed off the edges. So I wanted to cut my card down to 4 by 5 1/4 so that it would mat nicely onto a 5.5 by 4 1/4 card base. That's just a standard A2 size card base. It's the size I make most often. I did go ahead and use my scrapbook.com foam adhesive. It comes on this giant roll, and I measured it just roughly using my mat to around 3.5 inches and popped it onto my card panel. I added just a little bit in the center there so it didn't like cave in or anything. Love this foam tape. It's amazing. I went ahead and adhered that to my card base, and that finished off the card. I really love the way that this turned out. Here's a look at the final card. I hope you guys love it. If you do, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Be sure you hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video, and I'll see you guys again in another video really soon.